Hey guys, new knife today. Andrew Demko is free of cold steel knives. Well, I don't know if he's still friends with them or not. I frankly don't know or care, but he has his own company now and his shark lock is on his own company stuff. So something's happened, but this was all the rage in 2022, these AD20.5s. And because here in Australia, we're about a year behind in terms of what's getting around knife land, I've just got one now, and this is just the basic one. This is the first time seeing it, so I didn't unpack it from the post on camera, but I figured I'd unbox it on the camera. Yeah, this will be the basic one, the Grivory and AUS10. So I'm too excited about seeing one in Magna Cut and whalebone, but here we are. Right, well, a lot of commentary about this knife, about it being, the value of it being on the lower side, because the ingredients are pretty pedestrian, I suppose. Grivory and AUS10. They say that you're paying for the shark lock, you're paying for a Demko design. And I like a Demko design. We've all enjoyed our cold steel Demkos. And this one, I thought it was red. Well, there you go. It is orange. So that's what's going on there. Let's bust it open. This is my first time with a shark lock. It's about to take my shark lock virginity. Your first time, it always sort of misfires a bit, doesn't it? It's hopefully it's not over as quick. Okay. So it feels in operation like a Benchmade Axis lock does, except you're pulling it back from the middle. So it's that sort of clickety-clacky, removing like a sprung something or other from the back of the blade, and then freeing the knife up entirely. You can also use the thumb stud, which I think I actually like doing that a bit more. This is not super easy on the old index finger, but then I haven't got shark fingers yet. That's what you get after you play with Demko knives. You get your shark fingers. It's not a real thing. It's just something I'm just saying because I'm talking while I'm figuring out this knife. Orange Grivory, AUS10A, and made in Taiwan. I wonder if this is made in the same factory, like using the same partners that Cold Steel uses. It feels about on par with a Cold Steel knife. Like it feels, they're good factory in Taiwan that Cold Steel use. So it feels about on par with that. Let's check out of the box sharpness. It feels pretty sharp. It's very sharp out of the box. That's good. Oh yeah, very nice. That's me. And I chose the shark foot blade because I wanted to say what every other reviewer is saying, and sharks don't have feet. I get it. Made it funny. Because of the shark lock. Right, so now you can't do yourself a mischief with it that way.
It's time to stop! It's time to stop, okay?
Right, so this is not as big as you might think. It's the smaller version of the AD20. So this is it next to my Paramilitary 2, which is, that much bigger, about an inch longer overall. Handles about half an inch longer, blades about, a third of an inch longer. So that's kind of what you're looking at there, that size of knife. Even still, rough ballpark. Let's look at it next to the Para 3. Yeah, it's a Para 3 size knife, but it's much sort of slimmer. Feels a bit more diminutive than the Para 3. That being said, the blade is as thick, if not, it's thicker at the end, but maybe the overall spine is about a millimeter or half a millimeter or so thinner. Nothing crazy different there. So, I guess it's time to get using it. I'll do a rope cut test on this knife to see what the AD10 steel is like. The AUS10 steel is like, and we'll just have ourselves a reviewing good time. So stay with me. All right, so complete package. You get the Shark Lock sticker. Old Andy knows who he's selling knives to. It's people who like locks and are interested in the mechanical parts. And you know what? The Shark Lock, you're already hearing a whole lot about it. So there you go, a little sticker to commemorate the experience of owning a shark locking knife. And then you open the box. It's all pretty nice. It's like, this is a nice solid, you know, it's a good box. I mean, I never particularly care. I would have every knife come in this. I just do not care about any of this stuff. It's all going to go in the bin, but you know, if you're after the experience, it's pretty nice. You know, the box has inlaid pictures of the knife, pictures of how the lock works. You know, very nice. And then it comes in one of these. We've all got a million of these now, don't we? A pair of glasses might fit in that one. Let's have a look. Well, once the knife's not in it, I might be able to use that as a glasses case. Who knows? It comes with a little Demko knives cleaning cloth. And still from the school of cold steel, we've got the extra pocket clip, well, sealed up in an airtight bag, so it's sterile for the other side if you want to left-hand carry the knife. Always wonder why they don't just opt for a reversible clip, but that is, maybe it's an Andy thing, maybe that's an Andy Demko thing, maybe that was never as much of a cold steel thing, who knows. And then the knife, and that's the package, and this is like a little Velcro button that you could, you know, if you're going to keep this around, you could at least put that on your, I don't know, chastity belt or something like that. All right. And that, of course, is the knife in orange grivory. How do you say these made-up words? Who knows? And AUS 10 sort of stone wash finished steel. Alrighty, so this is the Shark Lock and how it works. And I open this up and I'm like, what a remarkable brain young Andrew must have to just to figure these things out. You know, I guess it's just that engineer kind of brain, isn't it? So you see that there. So this long spring here, always putting pressure. This thing wants to be back pushing this way. This is just really holding against this the back of this blade tang, which is also held against this stop pin with a whole lot of pressure as well. So again, you've kind of got that echoes of the triad, you know, the three sort of points of contact, making for a really strong lock. So that's a lot of this bar goes onto the back of that tang to sit there, and then pull that back, and in it goes. Whoop. Spring just shot off into the distance. I'll have fun going and finding that. My God, that was lucky. This shed, as you might have noticed, is not in its cleanest state. Whew. Controlled environment when you take apart your AD20.5. Yeesh. Put naughty Mr. Spring back in there. Jesus. And put this back on quick smart before it explodes again. But yeah, I gotta say, you crack something like this open and you're just like, this guy just, it's just a brain that's working on a different level to mine, you know, just to be able to envision these little mechanisms for things to work. It's very, very cool. Much respect. Much respect for Mr. Demko. I'm sure that's why he does his work, for respect of fucking goobers like me. But anyway, that's how the Shark Lock works. And back together. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to crack open my Sandrin. This is a Snex power lock or something. I can't remember. But I think they attribute it to Snex, who's another sort of engineer-minded chap. And it's a similar-ish but different sort of lock. And I just want to see how that's different. I would have had the two open together, but that has just terrified me. So I will not be opening this knife up ever again. Thank you very much. A little bit of poo-poo came out. Man, I'm so surprised I found that screw, hey. Holy shit. I was like, well, that's gone. You have to order another AD20.5 and share the spring around. You fucking dumb fuck, Pete. Anyway. Alright, so my little Sandrin Torino has a similar-ish lock, as in There goes a washer. Oh fuck, disassembly. Oh my god, I hate it so much. Okay, anyway. So the Sandrins you see here, the springs, it's sprung back there. Oh, that's another spring just waiting to burst across my fucking shed. But this one here, so it's, whoop, oh my god, it just wanted to do it. It wanted to do it, it wanted to be free. Fuck, right. So, this bar here springs back from the spring controlled all the way back here. But again, sort of sandwiches the blade between with much sort of less surface contact. This pin, this tiny little bit of the arm there, and the blade tang. So similar-ish, but yeah, not super samey actually. So, but I just wanted to sort of lay eyes on it and just check it for myself. So let's pull it back without blowing up my lock. Oh my god, fuck this, fuck this, fuck this. Oh my god, this has been highly traumatizing. This whole endeavor, I give this a 3 out of 10. No, something's fucky. Something's fucky. Oh god damn it. Okay, well, the good news is that my AD20.5 isn't completely ruined, so I can still keep reviewing the knife. So in terms of the blade's performance as a cutting tool, it's middling, I would say. It's not bad, it's not amazing. It's the lower flat grind, so it's like a saber flat, I suppose, and it's thick quite far up until the tip. So this feels like a bit more like a utility style knife, so something that you could use to cut heavy cardboard, if the steel permitted, for a long time. I mean, AUS 10 probably would need resharpening. I would have preferred to see, on this smaller version of the AD20, I would have preferred to see a hollow grind to make it all about the slice. I don't mind the stock thickness, but I always just figure if you're going to go like a smaller knife, you may as well, forego any of the hard use tropes and just go nice hollow. And hollow is a fine, tough enough grind anyway. It's, for something you'd ever use a knife this small for, hollow will be just fine. But yeah, overall it passes through material, no huge worries or anything, nothing crazy holding me up. Just the standard issues, you just find a bit of deflection sometimes on thin slices like on the cucumber you saw before and that sort of thing. But realistically speaking, it's a fine blade. Wouldn't say terrible, wouldn't say bad, wouldn't say great either. It's just fine.
I am only batoning with this knife to show you that it is a strong lock. And it is a strong lock. It's a sort of lock where you feel like another part of the knife will give before the lock gives. Battening through wood is a ridiculous task with a folding knife. Purely illustrative. All I noticed while I was doing it was a slight rock, but then that corrected itself as soon as there wasn't, a huge amount of wood pressure around the blade. And once the battening had stopped and I flicked the knife sort of open and shut again, it seemed to completely correct itself, and whatever was causing a slight feeling of rock definitely ceased once I'd stopped being a destructive dick with the knife. So realistically, the only thing that a knife lock really needs to endure, practically speaking, is like a bit of maybe back pull on some cardboard that the knife might get stuck in for the everyday user. But things like battening and spine whacking, video demonstration can perhaps show you the extremes or the nth degrees of what the knife can put up with. And it put up with the battening through this pretty decent. I mean, it was limited by the size of the blade, but this pretty decently hard Australian red gum, so not too bad at all, not too shabby. Most liner locks, most lockbacks without the triad would fail at this. They'd just fold shut, and the handle would go and be straight on with the parallel with the stick. So overall, really super strong lock, as they say, and most importantly, I think for this sort of purpose, very fun to play with. And isn't that what the lock's really all about on a pocket knife? As long as it's basically strong. Things like being ambidextrous, which this is, things like being safe, keeps the fingers out of the blade path, which this does, and being fun to play with is what I think this lock does the best. And as a bonus, it is also really, really strong.
Alright, it's steel testing time. We're going to look at it with a 17-degree mirror polish edge. I've been using my TS Prof lately, so I'll be using the TS Prof to put a pretty nice edge on this guy. I got up to 1,000 and then do some strops using my my NAFS kit. Old Ben over at NAFS sells this really great little knife maintenance kit. Also comes with a little iFixit driver and some compound, which is elsewhere. But really good little set of things to just kind of keep up with your knives, strops, little pry bar to get the scales apart when you're disassembling. Just lots of good stuff. Some Loctite, nano oil type things, as I said, screwdrivers. Excellent little kit. You know what, if you want to get something for a knife guy and you don't know what knives he already has, this is bloody great. I love this little thing. So there we go. 17 degree per side edge. Maybe an example to keep in the back of mind is the NAFS Lander. This is in D2. I don't have this. You can get this knife in D2 for about the same price at the moment. So it's kind of either stainless or D2 are your options. So let's just think about how this will probably not last as long at the edge as D2, but will be stainless. So that's kind of your choice there for about the same price point. Not that NAFS D2 is the same as the one that Demko would be using, but this could be a Taiwanese made knife from the same industrial district. Who knows? But probably not a bad example to have in the back of your brain there. Cool, let's get to it. about done for the TS Prof side of things. Let's release him and do a bit of light stropping. Okay, so I'm really impressed with that edge. That held for about as long as a pretty typical D2 would hold under these same circumstances. So yeah, it's a high-ish carbon non-powdered steel, the AUS10. The chromium usually softens it a little bit or makes it less good at edge retention when you choose to make it stainless, but it's a pretty good example of AUS10 steel for sure. That's yeah, definitely outside of what I was expecting. I was expecting for it to peter out at maybe 250, and indeed at 250 the slices started to be a little bit rockier, but they were persisting. It was just as you get towards the last little part, you start to get the proper zag off cuts, which is usually when I stop the test. So overall, very well done example of AUS10 steel. I mean, thinking just in perspective though, the exact same edge was on this Paramilitary 2 the last test I did, and it was like 550 cuts. So you get a powdered steel, you get a tool steel, you'll get a lot more cuts per sharpening, but realistically for a budget steel, it's definitely one of the good ones. The AUS10, VG10, and what's the other one? BD1. Those three are sort of a pretty similar triad of knives.
Jesus Christ, that's Jason Bourne.
Basil. Basil, what is it, mate? Is it dinner time? What was that? Basil, I think it's also really cool that this part that says AD20 here actually minimizes the pocket clips abrasing against the seam and the rough gravery material, don't you think? Oh, that's your ass. Size comparison. You've got a fruit sticker stuck to your tail. Oh, you're such a plonker. What are you doing? Alright, so my thoughts on the AD20.5. I like the carry. That's fine with me. For a knife like this, I wouldn't be expecting a deep pocket carry. And in fact, I feel like this knife is probably aiming to be like this knife already is for me, like your daily user beater style knife. Stretch 2 in K390 feels like it's a similar role to me. It's a different kind of knife, a bit bigger, steel's different, lockback, you know, but purpose-wise, it feels like it's going for that. So a deep carry clip isn't really on my list of musts for a knife in this usage spec. What do I feel like this is most likely competing with? I feel like it's competition from the other big companies. You'd be looking at from Benchmade, the bailout maybe. Not the bug out, the bailout is sort of similar-ish to this knife. The 3V steel might be slightly better in that one, but then of course non-stainless, but then of course it is, it's covered, it's coated. And then from Spyderco, I'm thinking the Para 3, but maybe more likely the Para 3 lightweight is probably the comparative knife to this. This is a bit stronger than the Para 3 lightweight because it does have liners. It's a little bit heavier and feels a little bit bulkier than the lightweight, but it's not quite as nice as the standard Para 3. So it's somewhere between those two. Between this and a Para 3 lightweight, I think I like this. I think I like this a little bit more. But between this and the standard Para 3, maybe about the same. I'm not the biggest fan of the Para 3, and I'm actually enjoying the design of this a little bit more than I've enjoyed the Para 3. Is it a really hard use knife? No, I wouldn't say so. Despite the lock being very, very strong. The lock is strong and I like that a lot about it. Just like how this is a beater knife, but it's not a hard use knife. I think the same as this. It's a good beater knife. The reason I'm saying that is because a hard use knife, you're going to be using it in torsion, like high torsion, high strength situations. Obviously a non-folding knife is better. A fold is always weaker at that, but also it's quite thin. So it's quite thin and it has angles all around sort of the grooves and whatnot. Very ergonomic in a sort of a steel grip, but the minute you start applying force this way, or side and side, those corners dig into you a bit. So for a hard use knife, a hard use sort of, what do I have an example of a good folding hard use knife? I'll try and find one. Right, so this is a Cold Steel SR1 Lite. It's a bigger handle, but even if this was shrunk down to the same size as the AD20.5, handle's wider and it has, the corners are softer. You can grip and use this for a lot longer. Another example would be, if this knife was on a different lock and not a thin liner lock, this would be an amazing hard use knife. This is the Becker BK40. If this was in 154 cm and had either a decent back lock or a compression style lock or a bar lock, a liner lock to me for a hard use knife is just not quite there, but this would be an ideal hard use knife because this handle is so darn comfy that you really could use and manipulate, wield, twist, you know, battle with this all day. So for that reason, it's not quite a hard use knife. I think it really is going for just the beater knife, up for some, you know, rougher stuff, up to be, you know, used frequently and taken out and not being sort of held in huge regard for its safety. And the lock will support you in most of your tasks. As I said, the most important thing about a lock, the most realistic, you know, issues you're going to have with the lock is pulling the knife out of stuff and getting a bit of spine strike, or getting it stuck in cardboard, pushing up and down, and that lock slipping and cutting your hand. This lock will not do that. I'm pretty adamant that this is a very, very, one of, if not the strongest lock. I mean, much of a muchness really between the Triad and the Shark perhaps, but very, very strong lock indeed. If they fleshed out the handles, boxed this out a bit, then it would be a great sort of hard use knife. Maybe the AD20, the bigger one, is better for that. But this is quite thin, and as such, it might not fill that role for you as well as it might seem just from virtue of having a super strong lock. So I like it a lot. I really do. I love the design. I like I mean, this is super fun. That's the best kind of lock, I think. A fun, strong lock. It's got everything covered there. What I would change about it, I would very much change the grind. I would love to put a hollow grind on these smaller ones. Hey, keep the flat grind on your bigger AD20s, but the smaller ones, I'd love to see hollow grind made for better slicing, because I do find a flat grind, especially a lowish flat grind, can be a little bit clumsy for precise cutting tasks. You skip off the surface of the cheese, you know, like, and it's really true. I'll show you. I cut cheese with this thing before, and then I went and got a the Quiet Carry, really well ground, hollow ground knife. It was a bit like a Sebenza to cut with. And a hollow grind has some negative space between the edge and the sort of shoulders of the steel that let material kind of float a bit and don't push it off prematurely off the surface of the blade. So that's what I like the most about a hollow grind, and I'd love to see hollow grind in this, or failing that, a thinner stock and a complete flat grind. Whichever was easiest, that's what I'd recommend personally, but obviously no one on that level cares what I have to say, but that's how I would improve the knife. It's probably about the only way that I'd really improve the knife. Look, I don't care particularly about the steel being AUS 10. In Australia, this is only a little bit more expensive than a basic Para 3 lightweight with BD1, so that steel is pretty comparable to this. And a bailout here in Australia is a lot more, even the standard, you know, non-aluminium 3V1. So really, for price-wise for me here in Australia, I'm not too put out by it. It is a higher cost knife, given that it's not Taiwan, given it's not American made. One thing I did find strange was that it still says, and I didn't know what, I was like, what is pawampum? Pawampum sounds like when you sit on a wet fart. And then I looked at a couple of other reviews, and it was like, oh, it's wampum, and PA is an abbreviation for a state over there. Pennsylvania? Oh, I don't know. I'll stop now because I don't know what I'm talking about. But I was a bit like, so that really, it's a really strange contrast. You've got wampum, PA, and then Taiwan straight above it. But it's not a big deal. I'm sure it's just, he gets probably these handles made for maybe his knife that he assembles himself, and maybe his, I don't know, no idea. But I just found that a bit funny. But on the other side, it just says Demko knives, which you probably should just say on both sides, just to avoid any confusion. Unless the handle scales are made in Pawampum. I'm sorry, I shouldn't make fun of this. Probably people, I'm sure people live and have great pride in Pawampum. Well, obviously Andrew does, because he's put it on his knife. So hello to all of those people who live in Pawampum or Wampum, PA. All right, that's probably about all I've got to say about this knife. Look, I really like it. I can see why it's such a big seller, why it's such a big deal. It's a bit of a breath of fresh air, you know, it's a bit of something new. The lock doesn't seem trivially new. It doesn't seem like just making something new for a reason. All I'll say though is get ready to get yourself some, what I think will soon be known as shark fingers, because you get your shark fingers pretty early on into opening and closing this knife lock over and over again. I'm not going to put that as a negative, you know, because if you just use this lock when you literally need to use the knife, opening and closing it, then it's absolutely fine. But if you're like me and like you, because you're watching knife videos, you're weirdo, just mucking around with the knife for ages and ages, you end up get a bit of a sore owie on your fingy. So that will, you know, callus over eventually, and you have yourself what I'm sure we'll all reflect on later on as a shark finger. So there we go. That's the AD20.5 review from this channel. Hope to see you all again in the next film. Hope this is comprehensive enough for you, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye now.